Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting for November 28th, 2023, here at the City of Roswell. The elected body present, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember David Johnson, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, Councilmember William Morthland. I'm Randy Knighton, the city administrator, and I'm joined by the city attorney, David Davidson, and executive assistant to council, Michelle Miller. The purpose of committee meetings are for city departments to convey information to mayor and council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda by ordinance. The committee consists of mayor and council and the city administrator serves as chair of committee meetings. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is certainly open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions unless specifically authorized by mayor and council. Public comments or questions are received on the second and fourth Mondays of each month in city council meetings at 7 o'clock p.m. in city council chambers, as well as the fifth Monday in open forum. We do encourage residents to engage our online platforms, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our staff and talent of the city. We'll be glad to provide that information to you. We also encourage everyone to access our city website and web service portal to register any concerns or questions. We also always encourage everyone to visit Roswell365.com for a calendar of events. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting for October 24th, 2023. I will entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Beeson, second by Councilmember Morthland. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? All right. Thank you. I would ask if this body is amenable that we do add one item to the agenda, and that would be the discussion of a resolution to request appropriations from the state delegation in the amount of $40 million for Big Creek Parkway. That's a motion of approval. Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that item will be added to the agenda at the appropriate location. Thank you all so much. Next item we'll note that under community development, we do not register any action items. And we'll move to item number 2, under transportation, consideration to modify the alignment of the Big Creek Parkway T-Splost project. Mr. Littlefield.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Big Creek Parkway alignment changes, a little bit of background. In 2016, the Big Creek Parkway was approved by the voters as a T-Splost project in order to improve east-west mobility across the Georgia 400 corridor. On September 9th, 2019, the mayor and council voted to change the Big Creek Parkway T-Splost project alignment. The alignment was voted on in 2019 to utilizing the existing Old Holcomb Bridge Road corridor connecting to Holcomb Bridge Road and the Big Creek Parkway Bridge over Georgia 400 via a loop ramp. And you'll see a picture of this in the next slides. December 2020, we entered into an intergovernmental agreement with GDOT to commit $15 million to the Georgia 400 project, and that is in 7 installments. More recent coordination with GDOT during the approval of another IGA in 2023 led to the reconsideration of the project's alignment. Per the 2023 IGA, GDOT is committed to construct the Big Creek Parkway Bridge over Georgia 400 Expressway as part of their managed lane projects. All right, here's a picture of the Big Creek Parkway. There's the existing alignment, and I'll just go through the colors real quick. The original alignment that you see on the right in green was the original alignment from 2016, goes from Old Alabama Road to the bridge that GDOT has said they would build with their express lane project. When you look at the darker orange, that's the loop to the top of the right of your screen. It goes all the way down Old Holcomb Bridge Road, and then there's a connection from to the Warsaw Road. That is the current alignment. If you look at the purplish color alignment to the top, that was the original alignment that was voted on in 2016 as part of the T-SPLOS program. And that's the alignment that we're suggesting that we go back to. It was voted on in 2016. It provides good east-west connectivity for the city. But those are the changes. And then if you look at the lighter orange loop that's kind of overlying the darker orange, that is just for potential future connectivity if desired. And of course, modifications are not approved as of yet by the mayor and council. And those lines are just right-of-way lines. They're not plans. They can be modified slightly, but that is a right-of-way envelope for those colors. All right, the purpose. This item is to discuss the original alignment for Big Creek Parkway project and determine if the mayor and council desire to modify the project's alignment. The original alignment approved by the voters in 2016 offered a direct connection to Warsaw Road and enhanced east-west connectivity. The financial impact. This item triggers an impact based on cost escalation since 2016. We have articles, some projects are coming in as high as 40% above the estimated amount. This project had $58.5 million in it. If you go up to 40%, it would be 81.9 million, 30%, 76 million roughly. If it's 20% higher, 70 million. Plus we gave away $15 million to the Holcomb Bridge project, which is the DDI connection, or the overpass on the 400 project. So the construction prices have continued to significantly outpace traditional inflation trends due to supply chains. And we've seen this in the city this past year with the phase one of Big Creek Parkway, where we let the project for $5.7 million, and it didn't go for another 2 years because of utility relocations. And then we received a change order for like $2.2 million, which was 39% increase. So we've seen actual evidence of these inflated costs from back in time. So over from 2020 to today, costs have significantly gone up from what was estimated in the T-SPLOS program. So the next steps, if changes are approved, we'll forward to upcoming council meeting, and it's just to go back to the purple colored alignment in the slide previously, leaving the green as is and the bridge as is, which is in the IGA with GDOT. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Littlefield. Yes, Councilmember Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. Just for clarification, this change back to the original scope project does not add back in express lane access, correct?
No.
And it does not have 400 access in general, correct?
No 400 access at all. It's a overpass of 400.
Right. I just want to make sure everybody listening knew where we were headed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all right, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Morthland to move this item forward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 3, consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to authorize contract amendments in an amount not to exceed $2.5 million with Gresham Smith and Atkins for the Big Creek Parkway project.
I just wanted to flag that I will be recusing myself for this item and the following item involving United Consulting.
All right,
So
thank
I'll
you.
be
So,
recusing myself.
all right, duly noted. All right, we'll proceed. Mr. Littlefield?
Yes, sir. Gresham Smith is the city's design consultant for the Big Creek Parkway project, and Atkins is the T-SPLOS program manager. The contract amendment will be needed for both Gresham Smith and Atkins to allow Gresham Smith to develop the construction plans and for Atkins to manage in the design process. The contract amendment will be done on an as-needed basis with a total amount not to exceed $2.5 million. Recommendation, staff recommends approval of this item in order to advance the design of the Big Creek Parkway project. The financial impact funding in the amount of $443,668 is available in the T-SPLOS 1 program management account, and $32,381,257 is available in the Big Creek Parkway T-SPLOS 1 account. And that's the total amount. We're only not to exceed $2.5 million. The next steps, if approved, forward to upcoming council meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Littlefield. Any further any questions or comments for Mr. Littlefield? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that item will move forward. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to authorize execution of a task order in an amount not to exceed $29,463.01 with the city's on-call consultant, United Consulting, for construction materials testing services for the State Route 92 at Woodstock Road, King Road project, and approval of a budget amendment. Mr. Littlefield. Yes, Mayor Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to make a comment on this particular item?
This item, yes, and I probably made a procedural faux pas here, but for this item, we want to always acknowledge and seek means by which we can be more efficient in how we bring forth items to mayor and council and expedite and execute on items more quickly. And items such as this, because of our current policies in place, which we are in process of revising significantly, when done, would allow us to move more quickly on items such as this and allow for an internal administrative approval, and we would not be in a position to bring these items to you on something which is a relative benign issue or project. Obviously, we will always make sure the mayor and council are informed on items such as this and projects such as this, and those changes that would be brought forward to you, we plan to bring soon regarding our procurement procedures, would allow us to move more expeditiously, especially given the fact that we have a number of projects before us, including bond projects and other initiatives, and we want to create a more nimble and flexible organization to be able to respond more quickly and execute more efficiently. So hopefully in the future, items such as this will not be brought forward to committee, but we will certainly have the approval of mayor and council to move forward on certain items that can be placed within the purview of the administrative staff. Mayor Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, just so I understand as an elected official, so you're requesting as the city administrator for the city of Roswell, basically running all operations for the city, you're requesting that the elected officials change the policies that are currently in place that make items like this that are already authorized in the budget and authorized inside of your operational purview to execute. But the way the current system is set up is that these items that are already approved financially have to come up individually, one by one, to be reapproved through a committee process and then a formal vote through the city council process. And you're requesting that the elected officials address that policy and give you the authority that you already have to be able to execute this in a much faster and more efficient manner.
Yes, we'll be bringing those items to you, proposed changes to you, because I think it's clear that the vision of this mayor and council is broad. There's much that's been accomplished already and much more that is on the horizon. And in order for us to be able to move those projects ahead more quickly, more efficiently, with the foundational tenets of best value, of a broad vendor selection, previous budget approval, that we're allowed to administratively move those items forward without coming through a formal committee process. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to hear clearly, this request is of this body, of the elected officials. Is that correct? Kind of formal, and you're going to keep, and I'm going to assume that you're going to keep bringing this up every time one of these items comes up. Is that right, Mr. Chairman?
I think it should be noted, and when we bring forward the changes to the procurement policies, you will certainly have the ability to make those formal changes and allow us to be able to administratively move forward on projects more quickly. Yes.
And, Mr. Chairman, just for clarity's sake, because I know it's going to come up, this has nothing to do with policy. This has to do with the ongoing execution of things that fall within the operational purview of the various roles of the people who serve the city in different functions.
Right, yes, Mayor Wilson, and I will emphasize that we have an excellent leadership team and excellent staff throughout, and wherever we can position ourselves to meet the vision that you have for this city and do it more quickly, then certainly we want to be able to position ourselves to do so. I will also say that there are a number of things that, number of changes that we're working on through our whole reorganization process and Reinvent Roswell process that we'll be bringing forward in a formal fashion to you. Items that we've identified where there's redundancy, where there is a lack of ability to coordinate certain items and collaborate. We made some headway in those areas already. But what we'd like to do is take some of the archaic, traditional means of government operation and not be constrained by those paradigms. We want to create an organization that I believe certainly meets your vision, that is forward-thinking, that is proactive, that is contemporary, and is set apart and different from any other organization, be it public or private sector.
Mr. Chairman, I could ask you questions all day. You could bring up the various department heads and directors and deputy chiefs and COO just to get their perspective on this would be interesting. But from your own perspective, how many years have you been in public service?
30 years.
30 years. And have you experienced this kind of process before where the local government that you served had these kind of processes ongoing that literally inhibited what you were doing as a public servant?
In some ways, yes. I will say that this great city of Roswell probably is steeped in more of those policy provisions that provide certain levels of constraint. And we appreciate the charge that you all have given us to extricate ourselves from those traditional norms and paradigms and to create an organization that truly is positioned to serve the residents in the most proficient manner.
So just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, it's your recommendation as the city administrator that the city council change some of these policies that inhibit your ability and your team's ability to act quickly and effectively. And I would be interesting, like every time you could give an example, like what happens to the city adversely by being slower to move? Your inability, like this should take how long in a normal process? Like if this were not having to come to committee, not just come to committee, I'm sorry. There's all the workup before you get to committee, right? To put it on committee, then to have the committee discussion, then for it to wait 2 weeks to go to council. What kind of time savings are we looking at for the city and efficiencies are we looking for the city? For example, if this were just handled administratively by you and your team?
I think also I would add that for some items, not only does it have to go through committee and to mayor and council, but if there's some other provision associated with it, i.e. some type of grant or other provision, it may have to, or it has in the past, have to come back to you for approval. And so in those instances, you may be looking at a couple of months, a couple of weeks at least, And without all of those entanglements, we would be able to execute in a matter of even days or weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
It's quite all right. Thank you, Mayor. All right. I did, before we go to item number 4, please forgive me. I thought it would be appropriate to insert the item that was added to the agenda since it was related to Big Creek Parkway, if that's okay with the body. All right. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. All right, so we'll add this item here. And again, I'll read it. This would be a resolution to request appropriations from the state delegation in the amount of $40 million for Big Creek Parkway. And what this would entail would be that the city would access the channels of request to the state delegation via the legislature in the upcoming legislative session to request up to $40 million to support the Big Creek Parkway project. Anything to add, David? Okay, all right. Is everyone clear about that one? This would be an ask, all right? All right, any questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion. We'll move this item forward.
Motion to move the item forward, please.
Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Morthland. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, thank you very much, and that passes unanimously. All right, we'll get to item number 4. I'm sorry. Item number 4, which was read previously regarding on-call consulting services for the Woodstock Road, State Route 92 at Woodstock Road, King Road project. Mr. Littlefield?
Thank you, Mr. Knight. The SR 92 at Woodstock Road and King Road is a project that was let, I believe it was last month. Materials testing by a third party will be needed during the construction of the project. RDOT staff is requesting permission to proceed with issuing a task order to Environmental Public Works on-call geotechnical firm, which is United Consulting, in an amount not to exceed $29,463. The work to be completed under this task order will include subgrade evaluation, soil density testing, concrete testing, asphalt analysis, and testing. Recommendation is to approve this item to ensure materials received are adequate and to acceptable standards. The financial impact of budget amendment will be needed to transfer $29,463.01 to the Woodstock at Highway 92 account from the Woodstock northbound turn lane account, which has $91,278.90 available. That was a project that was terminated maybe 2 months ago by Mayor and Council. Next steps, if approved, forward to upcoming council meeting. Any questions?
Any questions? Councilmember Hills?
Thank you. This is just a comment. I have as big a sigh of relief on this one coming as I do with Big Creek reload back to our original plan for 2 different reasons. One is what's to come with Big Creek Parkway and what has been on this corridor, and I can't wait for this to happen. So it's going to really change, both are going to change lives, but I'm very excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and we can, there we go, Councilmember Beeson. All right. Item number 5, consideration of a resolution to apply and accept a local maintenance and improvement grant LMIG application with approved project list for FY 2024 to the Georgia Department of Transportation and to authorize a budget amendment BA 33542200-12-11-23 for the city to accept the LMIG funds for $996,483.72 from the Georgia Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Mr.
Littlefield.
GDOT's Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant, which is LMIG, yearly fund for Roswell is contingent on the General Assembly's budget. For 2024, the state allocated $996,483.72 for Roswell's LMIG program. The city of Roswell is required to provide a match of $298,945.12, which is 30% of the allocated formula. The MIG funding is applicable to various transportation projects eligible for the state motor fuel sales tax. And that 30% is, we basically use our resurfacing funds, our yearly resurfacing funds for that match. Eligible projects include repaving, sidewalks, intersection improvements, bridge maintenance, and connectivity projects. Traditionally, Roswell allocates its LMIG funds for resurfacing heavily traveled collector roads, reserving local funds for local roads. Staff recommends that the mayor and council authorize the mayor to sign the GDOT application and to approve a budget amendment to accept and spend the 2024 LMIG funding on resurfacing the following road recommended by staff, and the roads are required as part of our submittal process. So Canton Street from Woodstock Road to Fowler Avenue. The PCI rating you see on the right is a 27. Now that scale is a 0 to 100, so it's in poor condition. The street continues on, changes name basically from Crabapple Road to Crabapple Road, and it goes from Fowler Avenue to Crossville Road. That PCI rating is a 34. The old Alabama Road from Riverside Road to Holcomb Bridge Road is a PCI of 39, but the city of Atlanta had a water line project earlier in the year, and it caused them to resurface the two southbound lanes. So we have two lanes that are essentially perfect, 100 essentially. And we have the other two lanes that are a 39. And so we'd like to get this road back on the same schedule so that 20 years from now, 10 years from now, when we're resurfacing it, we won't have to resurface just half of the road or resurface because of half of the road. So that's why Old Alabama Road is on there. This is just a picture of the LMIG routes, 2024 GDOT application. You can see Old Alabama and then Canton. And they're in bright red kind of. To the right of 400, you'll see the Old Alabama Road. The financial impact, staff estimates the cost of resurfacing the above listed roads at $1,394,858.42, which reflects a match of 39.9%, which is in excess of the 30% required. The matching funds from the city are already available within the approved budget. Once the grant is accepted, the city will accept the state funds in the amount of $996,483.72 from GDOT. A budget amendment will be needed to accept the funds and establish the grant budget. And then if approved, forward to upcoming council meeting. Do you have any questions on this?
Thank you, Mr. Littlefield. Councilmember Morthland?
Can you flip back to the PCI ratings?
Yes.
In our prior conversations, you touched on something that I'll never forget, and that is you were drawing the comparison of a PCI rating of 0. What would a PCI rating of 0 actually be?
Basically a dirt road, almost impassable.
And that's where we are with these ratings of 27, 34, and 39.
It's a 0 to 100 scale, so they're in bad shape.
These roads are
for various reasons.
Closer to dirt road status than actual asphalt.
They're closer to worse than worse.
Councilmember Beeson? I'm sorry. Councilmember Beeson?
So for the matching funds for this, is that going to be coming out of our resurfacing budget, or is that going to be coming out of general funds?
The resurfacing budget,
Okay.
what we have already in our resurfacing will cover the match.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hills?
Thank you. both of these areas, I mean, the first two, Canton Street from Woodstock to Fowler and Fowler to Crossville, that's really one road. Highly visible, and then Old Alabama is one road. And they're both extremely visible in our city, and I appreciate you really bringing the PCI to us, that whole rating program, which I don't believe has been done in a long time. And then also being on top of that, Atlanta, a water line rework, that we don't have a snaggletooth road over there. I know it's drivable, but the fact that we're bringing that up to snuff so it stays on schedule is a big deal. And then to the ordinary visitor or driver over there, it looks right. It looks good. So I appreciate that on both levels. And if anyone, there are no more questions, I'll move to, go ahead.
Councilmember Hall.
This is just a curiosity question. How many center miles of road is this, and what's the formula for, is it dollars per?
Yeah. There is a news item that we have from GDOT that actually estimates resurfacing a mile of two-lane roads at about 250 to 300,000 miles, or $300,000. With the increased asphalt costs, the liquid asphalt pretty much goes up with the gas and petroleum products, so it keeps going up. Plus labor costs have gone up too, so about 250 to 300,000 roughly per mile.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Old Alabama's 4. Even we're only resurfacing 2 up to Market Boulevard, and then Market Boulevard to Holcomb Bridge. The water line didn't touch that portion, so we'll be actually doing all lanes of that section.
Councilmember Beeson.
What's the timeline on this? Because this one's obviously, we're moving to the format of apply and accept the funds. What's the deadline, and then theoretically when this will be granted?
It's in January, I believe, is the deadline. Is that correct, Joe? January is the submittal deadline.
Do we have a reward date?
And, pardon?
Do we have an award date?
We will, when we get the funds,
If, assuming we got the grant, roughly when will they be awarding the grants?
we'll let these roads with our resurfacing contract, so when we'll bring a local list to you guys probably next month with the local roads that we're gonna do with our resurfacing money that we have in our budget. So these will all be part of one contract. Hopefully we'll let it February or March. Typically you don't start paving until April 15th when the weather turns. It's gotta be 45 and rising to apply surface coat, so usually about April we like to get them out.
Okay, so this one still will be within that timeline then?
Oh, yeah.
It won't delay that,
It'll be
okay.
with the same contract that we let our local roads with.
Okay, perfect.
Hopefully we get a better price that way.
All right. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills. Second by Councilmember Borthland. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, item number 6, under administration. Consideration to update and revise 3 sections of the City of Roswell Human Resources Policies and Procedures Manual. Ms. Warren? Yes. Councilmember Hills?
If I may interrupt, thank you. Since we weren't here last evening at our council meeting, I just wanted to recognize you and your department, Ms. Warden, about the recent, wait, let me get it right. On November 18th, the City of Roswell's Human Resources Department won the Large City Achievement Award in recognition of outstanding contributions in the field of human resources management. So congratulations on that. The Georgia Local Government Personnel Association promotes professional personnel management throughout local government in Georgia. GLGPA is supported by the GMA, the Association of County Commissioners in Georgia, and the University of George Carl Winston Institute of Government, and you beat out a whole lot of other great cities. So congratulations. I just didn't want the moment to pass while you're here in person to say thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton.
Thank you, and I also want to thank my HR Dream Team. I have one of my managers here from the HR Dream Team. I wouldn't be able to do half of the stuff that we're doing right now without them. So thank you for recognizing us.
Thank you. Great acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hill. We're looking for consideration to update and revise 3 sections of the City of Roswell Human Resources Policies and Procedures Manual. Staff is recommending the updates and revisions to be made to certain sections of 3 chapters for legal compliance and clarification of HR policies and procedures. The first is Chapter 4, Introductory Period. We're looking to change that from 12 months to 6 months. We feel that 12 months, most municipalities are at 6 months. We're a handful of municipalities now that are practicing currently 12 months. If we can move it to 6 months, that would help with our full-time employees that are eligible for merit increases, receive the increase in time as opposed to waiting a full year. And also, we're looking to, for non-certified police officers and communication officers, they will have an exception to this. The next one is, we want to be the best of the best to work for. We're looking to increase our paid holidays from 11 paid holidays to 13 paid holidays. Let's see. And the last one is the separation notice. Instead of when an employee resigns in 2 weeks, we would like for them to work out their full entire 2 weeks. If they decide to stay for a month, that's wonderful, but the last 2 weeks of that month, no vacation, remain here for the last 2 weeks. Any questions?
Oh, okay. Any questions? Councilmember Beeson.
Looking at the holidays, love the addition of 2 additional holidays. Any reason why we are doing Good Friday in lieu of Juneteenth? I know that we were at the river this past year in May. You had brought up that several employees were supportive of Juneteenth being added as a recognized holiday at the city. I know that we did do a Juneteenth celebration here, but in terms of a day off, especially given that it's a federal holiday and surrounding cities do recognize it. So is there a reason why we're doing Good Friday in lieu of Juneteenth?
Yeah, when we looked at making the changes, we looked at various cities right now that are actually celebrating Juneteenth. Some of our competitive cities, Milton, Alpharetta, Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, they're not celebrating Juneteenth. The state of Georgia, Marietta, and Fulton County celebrates Juneteenth. So we wanted to, couple things. We wanted to make changes to Good Friday because state of Georgia, Marietta, and Fulton County, they do celebrate Good Friday. And we wanted to kind of stay consistent with them, with the exception of Juneteenth. We felt that employees could use their floating holiday if they wanted to, and we would come back and revisit Juneteenth. Since I know we want to be the leaders, and we will be the leaders as far as bringing it on board, but look at it we'll come back to you with other policy changes.
Councilmember Beeson.
One more question. So I appreciate that. At least it's in line with other cities. Just given the number of religious holidays are being acknowledged on there in lieu of a federal holiday, that is a concern of mine. Looking at the separation policy, given the fact that we will not be honoring PTO, which I understand why, last 2 weeks, at this point, you're getting ready to transition this employee out and you need all of that information. If they have comp hours accrued, are they going to be compensated for those comp hours, or is it going to be at a loss?
It will be at a loss.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't compensate for, we don't pay out comp.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Has there been a survey done of the employees about what holidays they would want off?
That's where we want to come back to. So that's what we want to get, do you want to exchange your floating holiday for Juneteenth? To get some more input from staff.
And how many floating holidays do we currently have?
1.
Would there be a desire to make, my personal relation, I'm Christian, so having Good Friday off would be beneficial to me, but if I'm not, that might not be beneficial to someone else. Would there be a desire to make that Good Friday holiday have 2 floating holidays?
We could look at that. That could be, and we noticed that the state doesn't refer to Good Friday. They call it a state holiday, but they use it in lieu, like Good Friday on that date. So there's some modifications we could make, certainly.
Councilmember Beeson.
I actually think that's a great idea. Would it actually be cheaper to have an additional floating holiday for employees to be able to take on their own as opposed to the city having to shut down all operations? So for example, if, regardless of religion, if somebody wanted to celebrate Diwali and take the day off as opposed to Good Friday, instead of the entire city hall shutting down, which I assume would cost a lot more, can you just honor the additional PTO day as opposed to, or even a floating holiday that's added each year in lieu of doing one set day every year?
That could be something that we can consider. We just felt that when we reviewed most of the municipalities, the state, alongside Marietta, City of Marietta and Fulton County, the way that they're structured, and the City of Atlanta, the way that they're structured, I thought we could do something similar and then come back and look at some additional.
Because they do Juneteenth as well, you said as well.
Yes, they
Okay,
do.
got it. All right,
They do.
I appreciate the insight.
Any other questions or comments regarding this item? All right, we'll entertain a motion to move this forward. Yeah, Councilmember Johnson, yes.
For the chapter 11, you know, in my job, my PTO is really weird, so, and this might not be applied here to City of Roswell employees, but if I have a trip planned, or, you know, or something like that, I mean, that would be on the employee to say, I'm quitting a week earlier, or I'm staying a week or 2 weeks later, correct? There would be no guidelines to that. And my other question too is if I'm an employee going on like maternity leave and not coming back, if that's known, would that, yeah, I don't know.
We would like 2 weeks' notice.
Okay.
So if it's an extenuating circumstance where, you know, you want to leave because your wife may need you, God forbid, child is sick or whatever, those things, yeah, we would look at. But if you are leaving the city and you have vacation planned, you should plan your vacation 2 weeks before you resign.
Gotcha.
We would like 2 weeks is enough time to transition. And that's what the city needs. We've had 2 people to leave in leadership positions, and they resigned for 2 weeks but went on vacation a week.
Gotcha. I don't want an employee to be punished because they have a sick kid.
Right, no. Oh, absolutely not. No, we look at, yeah, no, we would definitely take that into consideration. We would not hinder an employee because they have a sick child or any other circumstances, you know, considered an emergency.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, comments regarding this item?
Tammy would like to add.
There is language in there that says with exception. So it's just a kind of rule, but it can be overridden by the designee.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Councilmember,
Move this forward?
motion by Councilmember Hills. Second by Councilmember Hall. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your support.
Thank you.
That's a point, I don't know. Let's talk generally about it. All right, I'm sorry. Item number 7, consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign an extension of the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Roswell and Fulton County for animal control services for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. You have in your packet this item and this information. This is a request by Fulton County to extend one more year or to sign an intergovernmental agreement for animal control services. In your packet, you will notice that there is a table depicting the breakdown and proposed operational services costs to each city within Fulton County. For the city of Roswell, 365 responses, and this is based on responses per jurisdiction, equating to $840, put my glasses on. You can see the breakdown with the other jurisdictions as well. Currently, in our current budget, estimated $181,000, just over $181,000. So this would amount to essentially a $73,000 or so increase proposal from Fulton County. And those payments are made quarterly to Fulton County. One of the items that Fulton County, of course, mentions is that they have a new animal services shelter that was approximately $40 million in cost that would allow them to service more animals at the facility, provide a heightened level of care at the facility as well. This proposal is to account for that, account for new operational costs as they have listed and itemized here. And the proposal before you is to consider a new IGA with Fulton County for animal control services in the amount of $254,000 plus dollars. Any questions? Councilmember Hall.
Yes, I have a couple of questions and comments. Has Fulton County animal control been responsive to Roswell residents historically?
From the commentary that I have received, that has been sporadic.
Is there something that Roswell, are we required to participate with Fulton County in animal control, or can the city do their own animal control? Is that something that we would want to do? Is that something that
Right.
would be beyond our capabilities?
There's some thought given to animal control services are very, very delicate to handle, I'll tell you from experience. And from some of the others, having conversations with some of the other cities, they recognize the challenge associated with animal control services as a whole. Having said that, I am planning to have some conversations with my fellow city managers this week regarding a couple of items, including animal control services. And so this, if you are inclined to approve this agreement, this is a one-year agreement, right, David? One-year agreement. And if there are any alternatives or options that prevail that warrant consideration by mayor and council, we certainly will bring those back to you. I will say that, again, animal control services do have several challenges associated with them. Obviously, with a new facility and the new capacity that Fulton County has, I think that is factored into the proposed increase. I will say that we will take measures and mechanisms as part of the conversation to, for lack of a better term, to audit or to be able to obtain information from Fulton County in terms of their calls and their responses to each jurisdiction, including the city of Roswell. They do mention that there are certain categories of calls in terms of response time. I believe 2 categories that they mention. Response times would be within 45 minutes. And then the other calls for service would be done within I believe, 24 hours. Obviously, the top two would be the most serious, a bite or something like that.
Would the city, and this is perhaps more of a conversation to have, the city of Roswell, I participate with some rescues that deal with feral cats and feral felines, and unless they're trapped, neutered, and released, the population's gonna keep growing. Is there something that the city can do to partner with any organizations to try and mitigate some of this? Because they get injured, they can spread disease. I mean, it's not good for the animals. It could be unsafe for people.
No, that's a very good point you raised. I think first, if I would offer is, what programs does Fulton County have in place to deal with situations like that, since obviously Roswell residents are paying for those services, current animal control services. And then to take a look at what it would look like for us, the city and or cities, to partner with rescue organizations that would be able to assist the city specifically with taking measures to control population. I think that's definitely a conversation that I will have with
Other states, California is one that leads with TNR, trap, neuter, release programs.
right.
So I'd like to follow up on that and see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a very good point. Thank you. Further questions or comments regarding this item? All right. Oh, Councilmember Johnson, go ahead.
Hey, got
You
it.
did it.
Or could we bid this out to other counties? Or are we required to be with Fulton County?
I'll answer that this way. Some of what we have an intergovernmental agreement before you. Some of what we're dealing with in terms of some of the services with Fulton County are also borne by a service delivery strategy, which is another item that we may have to have some really deep and serious conversations about sometime soon. So I think that's something that I will find out more about in terms of that level of consideration. There have been some thoughts about that, yes, and as I understand it previously, there have been some overtures made to adjacent jurisdictions, in particular, I believe Gwinnett County. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. With Gwinnett County, previously was one of our other partner cities, or North Fulton cities, excuse me. And given their capacity, it was very difficult for them to consider something of this nature. And so with animal control services systems, oftentimes, in my experience, that they're at capacity or near capacity. And so that becomes a challenge with trying to perhaps enter into some type of agreement with another jurisdiction. But that is something that I'll certainly explore. Councilmember Morthland.
Just curious, where exactly is this located?
Yeah.
This is in South Fulton?
The new facility, that is correct. In fact, they had the ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions or comments at this time? All right. Thank you very much. We'll ask for a motion. We'll ask for a motion to move this item forward to consideration at the mayor and council meeting. Councilmember Beeson, motion to move this item forward.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion at this time? All in favor? All right, thank you very much, and I will report back to you on some additional findings. Thank you. Item number 8, Public Works. Consideration to award a contract to FS Scarborough LLC for the Stormwater Roadway Improvements Roswell Transfer Station project in the total amount of $560,343.50. Deputy City Administrator Izo, who will conduct the next committee meeting in December.
Thank you. Good evening. This is a contract to complete the work at our transfer station. As you recall, Last fall, we completed Phase 1 of the transfer station construction. We took control of our new transfer station. And as we moved into Phase 2 for the demolition of the existing transfer station, we discovered some soil conditions that were unanticipated in the original project. Basically, there were, when that facility was built a number of years ago, the poor soils there resulted in some challenges they had there to establish foundations. And so the method they used to handle that situation was to put concrete cement and mix it into the soil there and add water, which created giant blocks of concrete underneath the surface of the ground there. And so as we got into demolition, we discovered that we were going to need to excavate that out. That was unanticipated in the original contract. And at the time, it was difficult for us to put parameters around how much material needed to be pulled out and how to dispose of it. So what we did at that time was terminate the contract with the existing contractor. We spent some time getting a handle on what material was out there so we could better quantify it, and we took the balance of that project and went back out to bid. We received 2 bids from qualified bidders in July, and the pricing that came in was a little high. And so what we did was we worked with that contractor and de-scoped a few items. And so what we took out of that were some of the stormwater pieces that remain in that project. So our own forces will be putting in the stormwater improvements that remain on the project. And so that was we were able to move the bid down from $822,000 to $560,000. So you'll see in this item that we're asking permission to sign a contract with FS Scarborough for $560,343.50. And then there's also a line item for some materials to complete the stormwater piece there, as well as to keep our engineer involved so that they can provide some oversight on the construction. We're also including a line item for $40,000 for additional unforeseen circumstances, which hopefully we'll be just keeping in our pocket and not needing to spend. But that is what we have here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Deputy City Administrator Izzo. Questions or comments from the Mayor and Council? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Morthland, second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All in favor? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay.
Abstention just because of the sub-line item, even though there's no allocation of funds, just because of a subcontractor on it.
Okay, passes with 1 abstention. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, that then does conclude the Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting for Tuesday, November 28, 2023. We'll entertain a motion of adjournment. Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Johnson. All in favor? All right, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.